Good morning, guys. Can you see my screen? Let me share again then. Is it visible now? Okay, good. Finally. Uh, Maxer, if you can make me a host again so I can start recording, or either you can start recording.
Yeah, just a second. Yeah, just a second. I'll try that again.
Okay, thanks. Let me know in between if my voice is not pretty much audible because I am currently connected with speakers. Well, sorry. First slide. Yeah. So we would be going through this topics mentioned here. So it is step-by-step topics that needs to be covered while we are preparing for any of the online interviews, right? So first thing you need to do is to prepare yourself for the interview, right? How would you prepare yourself? So there are multiple aspects. One is the technical aspect. One is the presentation aspect. One is the how you communicate with the presenter or the interviewer. That is also pretty much important. So how would you prepare it prior to the interview? We would also see that. Then after, you need to groom yourself. We'll see what this topic covers. Also, how would you start the interview? Whenever you interact first with the interviewer, what things you need to take care, and while during the interview, what are the do's and don'ts, right? We will cover this in this topic. And whenever we are giving any interview for the developer uh, profile or any engineer profile, we must need to have the practical examination. Any of the round would have this, so you need to prepare for it as well. How you can do it, we will see. And concluding the interview, it is also a very essential part of interview. It will leave the last impression on the interviewee, where he or she will be deciding that whether you will be part of the organization or not. And the follow up. We'll see each topic in detail.
On it.
So in the pre-interview preparation, so first thing first, that you need to start preparing for the interview at least the day before, right? So once you need to make sure that if you want to, so there are two aspects of the interview. There are two goals that you can have for any of the interview. One is you are giving interviews to gain more experience on the interview so that you can go in the desired company, right? So And the another one would be you are giving interview for your desired company where you actually want to go in, right? So for both the aspect, you need to prepare well, and you need to start well in advance. You must need to go through company's background. That is the first point. How do you do that? Usually company have their website. You can visit the website and gain more information. At least you should know about the company's work, services, products which they provide, and also about the locations, physical locations, I would rather say, right? Also, you need to review the company's profile, salary insights. What is the review of the company? Are the people in the company are pretty much satisfied with all the benefits that company provides or not? All the things are actually available on the Glassdoor. Usually, good companies have their good profiles in the Glassdoor, right? So you can have this sort of pre-checks for any of the company in which you want to go in. The third one is so again, Glassdoor also have this interview questions mentioned, and it has all the experiences of the developer who has already given the interview in the company. You can go through those sections. You would know which sort of questions each and every company is providing. So every interview would be different, categorized by the company. So some of the company may focus more on logic, some of the company may focus more on communication, some of the company may focus more on programming, right? If I talk about one or two good companies, when I joined Starlight, they were more focused on identifying whether the person has good logic or not, rather than if a person is good in programming language or not, right? And again, one more good company, argues of, they usually focus more on puzzles. If you are good in puzzles, if you are good in the logic and the optimization which you provide in the puzzles, they would you would have the higher probability to get selected, right? So how do you know that company would ask you puzzles or practical questions, or even the questions which would be a tricky one, like what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? You can get all the data over Glassdoor. There are few more platforms which provide the this kind of information. You can go through those as well. Obviously you can find it over Google, and one of the best platform that I find is the Glassdoor. And also beware, nowadays Glassdoor also have paid reviews, right? So the most sorry so the most efficient way to know about company is to communicate with the people who are working in the company, right? So through your connections, through LinkedIn, through your friends, you need to identify a person to whom you can connect to and get the insights of the company, right? Okay, coming back to this, how do we prepare after? So this is having a predetermination that you have selected the company. Now you just want to go in, and now what would you prepare for the interview? Okay, so these are the things you need to do a 1 day prior, right? And an hour prior, you could also go through this thing. So you need to taste your mic. So usually you have a meeting invite, right, a day prior. HR or somebody else would have sent you, and you need to test the mic on the same platform. So nowadays there are many platforms where this interviews are taking place. Zoom, Google Meet, right? uh, Go to meetings. So you need to test it first. So if the meeting is scheduled in the Zoom, then you need to test your Zoom account, right? You need to test your mic, speakers, and also you need to make sure that you have good internet connectivity. right? And it is also pretty much important to choose the interview spot. It should not be a spot where people are roaming around in your house and you can see them in the background. It would not leave a good impression on the interviewer, right? Also, you should use headphones because it has the noise reduction. So usually whenever you are giving interview, you should use it. Avoid distraction. So what does this statement mean? So two or three things you need to take care in this. One, whenever you are starting the interview, you should put your mobile on silent, right? And also you need to be in a private space where nobody can call you, right? So you can have a private room where you can lock the door, and you do not have much of a distraction, which would be pretty much easy for you, and also it would leave a good impression to the interviewer, right? It may or may not happen that you have a private room, but yes, you need to make sure that your mobile is on silent. If you are working on another electronic devices, it should be on a mode where it do not make any noise, right? For the smoother communication. Any questions in this, or we can go ahead? Okay, let's move forward. Okay, so once you have prepared for the interview, now the time comes where you need to give interview. Now there are two or three things that you need to take care. One is how you communicate, that is for sure. Second is how you present yourself physically, right? And another, how you will perform in the interview. So one of the aspect you need to take care is having better gestures and posture, right? So obviously, if you are giving interviews in the first year, you would be nervous for sure, but you need to trust yourself, and you need to make sure that you are not giving interview for just giving the interview for the sake of it, but also you need to trust yourself on the basis of your strengths. You should be confident whenever you are giving interview, and nervousness, the other party would see only 10% of your nervousness. You should not be worried about that. Everybody would be nervous, and that is fine. You have to be confident and present yourself in a way where you can present your strengths, right? Yeah, so how you can do that, there are few tricks. So you can basically look forward, and you should not move your head around like this, right? And also you should not nod your head down. So interviewer can also have a dilemma that whether you are looking at your phone or in other laptop for answers. So that it is pretty much important to maintain the eye contact with the interviewer, right? Also, another thing you need to, it is good if your hands are visible while you are answering, right? Why? Because it would make sure that you are pretty much engaged in the conversation and you are not doing any other activity, like looking at another laptop or uh, over other mobile, right? So these are pretty moral and pretty basic gestures and posture. It is no rocket science. Okay, so uh, another thing I mentioned that communication, right? So how would you introduce yourself? Uh, this is actually interesting. Let me ask you. So you might have done this in the or your college as well during your classes. Anyone want to introduce yourself? I mean, in terms where you are giving interview in the company, how would you introduce yourself? Anyone? Okay, then I'll choose. Vishwa, can you introduce yourself? Vishwa, can you hear me?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, which Vishwa?
Come again.
Sir, which Vishwa?
I guess it is. So if you can see on the screen, it is Vishwa Barot.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you just need to pretend that you are giving an interview, right? And now interviewer has asked to present yourself to him. So how do you do that? How do you go ahead?
Firstly, I introduced myself.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, do that. I'm asking, introduce yourself, Vishwa.
Okay, sir. Good morning, sir. Myself, Vishwa Barot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from JLS University, Ahmedabad.
Yeah.
My achievement, like,
Not able to hear you now. No, now you are on mute, I guess. Yeah, you are still on mute. Yeah, I can hear you now.
hello, sir.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Myself, Vishwa Barot. I'm from JLS University.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my hobbies are listening music and reading.
Okay. So consider you are giving an interview for developer profile,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So what other things you can include rather than only giving your hobbies and your name? Okay. Anyone else can also, participate. This is not for Vishwa only. So I can see in the chat somebody is Harshit or Bhavisha can also go ahead.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Who is this?
Sir, myself Harshit Thakkar. I have done my MCA from GLS University.
Mm-hmm.
I like to work in a Java language, and I want to become a web developer. I have
Okay.
created I have created a project. I have created projects in Java languages, like I have created a gift gallery project which is based on gift in my bachelor's of computer application. I have also contributed in many other projects like Test for Life in which Android technology is used.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
Good, Harshit. Thanks. A good introduction. So usually when I ask somebody who is coming up from college, they would rather say, "This is my name." They would tell their father's name, introduce myself to the family, Also, hobbies are okay, but only if it is technical. If it is related to other things like listening to music, playing cricket, playing football, it do not have any significance, right? If you are giving interview for any technical rounds, or any technical profile, you need to have hobbies in a technical way. Like, I like to program in Python. I like to develop an application which would help other people. I like to develop an application which is related to AI. I like to work in an environment where there is interaction with hardwares like facial recognition, palm vein detection, right? Which is actually related to AI, or smart city projects. Like, so somewhat like that you can in the introduction. Make sure it right is your favorite is introduction. Yes, this is pretty much good that you should include your projects while you are giving introduction. You can also include your strengths. You can also include any challenges that you have faced during your interviews, sorry, during your projects, and also include a key feature that you have introduced in your projects. Also, some of the unique features that you find in your projects. So let's say, uh, actually, I have worked on one of the facial recognition project in my previous organization, and the unique thing that about that project is usually facial recognition algorithm comes in many other third-party libraries in Python, but we have developed our own algorithm. We have used some third-party APIs, but the algorithm that was developed was from our side, and this could give a very better so they would get impressed if you have worked in a way which is unique than other people, right? Because everyone is aware about there are tons of applications are available, but an algorithm were having accuracy below 90. You might show your test cases where you have achieved your accuracy over 90%, right? So some features you need to identify, and you should present during your introduction about project for sure. Okay, moving forward. Yeah, also you need to highlight your achievements. So let's say if you're taken part in any technical programs in your college, you can present it. Like, in our times, GLS has organized a tableathon event where we needed to code in tablet. So our team has won prize. So somewhat like that you can mention, right? In cyber contour, or any other achievement which is actually related to technical stuff. Also, if you have certification of Java, if you have certification of JavaScript, I mean whatever certification you have, you can present it during your introduction. And you should talk related information. So as this technical you should talk in a technical, uh, for the technical stuffs only. You should not include your personal stuff while giving the information to interviewer. Yeah, and again, whenever provide an example of inheritance, then you should just speak about inheritance. You can give examples, you can elaborate on inheritance, right? But you should not speak about other oops characteristics like polymorphism or any other thing, right? So keep your answer short and simple. And yes, you should go on more than 10 or 20 seconds only if they are asking that please elaborate on that, or please explain me in detail, right? Again, this is pretty much important. So I have actually taken up so I carry 7 years of experience, but during that 7 years of experience, I must have taken around more than 100 interviews. Is someone trying to speak anything? Is my voice audible? I think I have yeah. So during those 100 interviews, what I find, if somebody is if somebody is giving a real life example to any of the question, continuing with the previous example, like if somebody asks you about inheritance and if you provide some real life example, there are more chance that you would get selected. If the person is pretty much logical and thinking in a way that you should think, then yes, you have more chances to uh, get selected. Why? Because the person would understand that you have understood the topic and not आपने रट्टा नहीं मारा है. You would understand that. So always give real life example to any questions which are related, right? Okay, here comes the tricky part. Once you are done with the introduction, prior communication, project explanation, and they would also ask you a few topic related with your Java. Then they would ask you about functionalities or modules in Java, right? After that, every technical interview would have a practical examination, either prior to these questions or either after these questions, right? 95% of the company has this. So how to improve in practical examination? There is no shortcut for this. You need to practice and practice more and practice regularly. Even in times where I have 7 years of, I also do this. The language do not matter. You should practice more on development. So this may include programming. It may include solving puzzles. It may include any other activity that is helping your brain to develop more logic, right? So practice is the key. So if we talk about coding part, there are many sites where you can go and give mock interviews, mock practical interviews. One of the good site that I know is Lead Code, right, where you can go and give practical interview. where you just need to write down a program with given time, and you should measure yourself. And once you start practicing this, you could get better at it every day. So again, whenever you are giving interview and they ask you for a practical examination, do not start immediately. Understand the program, understand the problem statement correctly. If you are not aware, if you have any, ask it. Do not start on writing the code immediately. Understand the program thoroughly, understand the problem statement thoroughly. You also need to, so usually what I do, I usually ask interviewer uh, if I have any question, and then after I also make him understand the algorithm. So that is my approach. So once you start the uh, practical round, if the interviewer is available, explain him the algorithm. That's how you can verify the problem statement is the understanding of a problem statement is correct or not. Is somebody saying something? Okay. So yes, you need to understand the program thoroughly. And yes, another thing which you can do is you can write down this algorithm or the program or the pseudocode in your notepad. You can ask them whether I should write down the pseudocode, and then after start coding in id, right? Again, as I mentioned earlier, don't cheat, because interviewer are pretty efficient in finding out if somebody is cheating or not. And again, gestures and postures come and make better impact on this part. So if your hands are visible and you are continuously making the eye contact with the interviewer, it would leave a good impression, and he would know that, he or she would know that you are not cheating, right? It is also ethically wrong, so we should not do that. Yeah, again, to improve logical reasoning and thinking, you need to go through the problems, logical reasoning problems, go through puzzles, code for real life problems, right? So it would give you very good thinking. You can resolve in a way that you want. So one problem can be resolved in many ways, and you might have a different way than what others are thinking. So usually you should make a practice to solve a real life problem into coding. So again, as I mentioned earlier, LeetCode is a good platform. They provide a real life problem, and you need to develop a solution for it, right? Okay. So in the conclusion, 90% of the interviewer would ask this: do you have any question for me? Right. So one or two things you need to have in mind. One is never say no. Right. Second is never say जो रट्टा मारी हुई लाइन है अभी काफी लोगों को मैं बताऊंगा कि we should ask for roles, we should ask for role that we are taking up in the new organization, uh, asking for company, asking for the responsibilities that we would have while if we are passing the interview, right? So you can have any of the questions that would help you understand more about the company, right? बट अभी मैंने ये जो 3 क्वेश्चन बोले हैं, ये सबको फिर कंपनी में जाके नहीं बोले, नहीं बताने हैं कि मतलब ये 3 क्वेश्चंस में से ही नहीं पूछना है, क्योंकि अभी हुआ था इंटरव्यू ड्राइव चारू सत कॉलेज में हमारी कंपनी का हुआ था. एंड व्हाट हैपेंड एवरी whenever asking this, do any questions for us, at last every other student were asking about their roles and responsibility. Then we understood that somebody in their premise or some teacher has asked them to ask this question. So do not ask just this, just for the sake of asking, but also understand what you need to understand about the company, or what you need to learn about the role that you will be getting in the company. So how would this help? This would let interviewer know that you are interested in the company, you are more willing to understand more about your role, you are more willing to understand more about the company itself, right? So it will show your engagement with the company. So that is why you should never say no, and ask pretty much relevant question, right? And whatever you feel lacking in your understanding regards of the company's detail, your roles detail, right? I guess that is pretty much it I want to cover within this session. And for any other queries related to this topic, you can ask me on my LinkedIn profile. It is mentioned over here. And I guess Prerna ma'am might have provided you the link as well. So you can connect with me and you can ask me this topic related question and any other question which is related to a technical path. You can also ask me. So any question related to this topic? Let's stop this now.